I figure, it's the last day, so I might as well go out with a bang. So there it is. The Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Those persons not entitled to the privileges of the floor will kindly retire to the gallery. The senators and all in attendance will please stand and be led in prayer by the Reverend Molly Bosher, St. Paul's Episcopal Church, Richmond. Reverend Bosher, welcome.
Let us pray. Dear God in heaven, thank you for those gathered here today, for the legislative process, and for sound government that seeks the good of all people. May your goodness and love be present among us. Help us to welcome new things you are doing in the world and to respect old things you keep and use. Come bless this gathering with unity, hope, and vision. Build in us a deep respect for one another so that we all may be one. Lord, we pray for hope. Come stir your hope within our hearts and renew our faith. Lord, we pray for vision. As this gathering meets, let your Spirit rule so that all may be joined in love and service. May your vision fill our lives as we seek to reveal your love. We ask all this in the glorious name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. The clerk will call the roll. All those present will please vote aye. The clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Senate Journal for Friday, February 24th, 2017.
The junior senator from Richmond City moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Ayes 37, noes 3. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will please report any communications from the House of Delegates.
We do not have any, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The clerk will please report any communications from the governor.
We do not have any, sir.
Thank
Mr.
you.
President, have we received any communications from the governor this session?
No.
The time has come to recognize visitors to the gallery and take up other matters for the morning hour. What'd she say? The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Today's prayer was given today by the Reverend Molly Bosher, the Associate Rector at St. Paul's Episcopal Church across the street. I ask that you give her a warm Senate welcome.
Well, thank you, Senator. Reverend Bosher, if you would please rise. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. And also, I think all of us are aware of what all the great things that St. Paul's Episcopal Church does for our community and allows us to have different groups come and visit and allows us to come over and visit with those folks as well. So we appreciate that, and we certainly wish you the best, and thanks for being with us this morning. I would ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering Reverend Molly Bosher the warm welcome of the Senate. Is there any other business for the morning hour? The clerk will please call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Saturday, February 25th, 2017. Bills in conference. House Bill 1500, conference report.
The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, we could pass that by temporarily to the senator from Augusta. Oh, he's returned.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger, you had the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. By popular consensus, I believe at this point, I move that House Bill 1500 pass, and I'd like to speak very briefly to that.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. As you're all aware, this budget process has not been one that has been totally pleasant for us, so we're still basically recovering from our realization that our revenue estimates last year when we prepared the biennial budget were not accurate, that for a number of factors that were present that caused us not to meet our initial revenue projections. This particular budget that is in front of you now obviously involves a lot of work with the administration and the General Assembly, your Senate counterparts here working very diligently to address priority needs with a limited resource. We feel like we've accomplished that, and the information that we've shared with you over the last several days I think are a testament to that fact. Share just a couple critical points briefly about this particular budget. Given the fact that where we are with revenue projections, it is a conservative budget. We have set aside a reserve within this budget, $35 million, with no strings attached. It's there as a buffer in case for a couple of reasons. One, if our revenue projections still do not meet our expectations, it allows us a buffer so we can still deliver on those things that we've promised in this particular budget. If we don't need those funds, and as we all are hoping, the economy will continue to track where it is right now, and we end up with a surplus, then we can roll it over into the next biennial budget and help us address critical needs as we re-benchmark some of the critical needs moving into the next biennial budget. Within the budget, you'll find we met our priorities that we stated at the beginning of the Assembly as far as our responsibilities to state employees, something I think we can all be comforted by, state police, constitutional officers, and teachers, where the Senate position was sustained, where we are going to deliver on state share of a 2% salary increase for those localities that do choose to increase teacher salaries, whether they have already in this biennial budget or whether they choose to during the course of this biennial budget. A couple of other things as far as trajectory, Mr. President. You will find embedded in this budget some language that puts us on a trajectory to deal with some of the troubling issues that we're confronted with. I think it was the basic consensus in the Senate, and certainly in the Senate Finance Committee, that we, as the members of the General Assembly, many of us being able to return year after year while the governor comes and goes, need to be a forceful influence in the direction of the Commonwealth. So you'll find studies embedded in the budget which will have us looking at fiscal stress in our localities. I know there was some news that a particular bill died. Well, it was not taken up in House rules, but it was embedded in the budget. So we'll be looking at our basic tax structure and in the relationship with state spending and local taxing authorities and the state tax structure with a particular emphasis on fiscal stress. We also had another, because the House posture this year was not to take up legislative studies in the Rules Committee. Our Mental Health Commission will be continued for 2 years. That was embedded in the budget. So we actually are on a path now where we have a lot of work laid out for us to restructure in a fairly aggressive way how we go about maintaining those critical services for people in needs of them. There also, you'll find a study that will be commissioned in there, which will have us looking at the critical area of higher education and the appropriate policies that we may need to implement to ensure that students that are attending our colleges and universities, community colleges, have access and it's affordable and deal with some of those troublesome issues that have been out there in the news over the past year. We also will be looking to deal with the area of our training centers, which has been a particularly troublesome area, which within this budget, we're putting ourselves on a trajectory where we're going to make the timely decisions in order to facilitate that. With that, Mr. President, I feel very good about the way this budget was developed, the process itself, and the product that we're delivering here today. And so I would yield for questions, or I would yield to the co-chair of Finance if he has any remarks to make at this time.
James City County, Senator Norman.
I expect everyone in this body's heard enough from me this session, so I'd move House Bill 1500 pass.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Stafford, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to ask that the Journal reflect that I'll be abstaining on item C-25 1C, 365 1C, and C-261C, but voting on the budget as a whole.
Thank you, Senator. The Journal will so reflect that. The Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, would like the Journal to reflect that I am abstaining pursuant to Rule 36 on item 3.1.01, number 11C, but voting on House Bill 1500 as the whole.
Thank you, Senator. The Journal will so reflect that. The Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am abstaining pursuant to Rule 36 on item 249, number 1C, but voting on House Bill 1500 as a whole.
Thank you, Senator. The Journal will so reflect that. The Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking to the motion.
The Senator has the floor.
I just want to take a brief moment and thank the budget leadership that we have from Senate Finance co-chairs. A lot of time on this floor we hear about the good old days and just how we had some really great folks there. But often they weren't as quick about actually making the budget available to the rest of us that might not actually be on here. I remember my very first session with my predecessor, Senator Smith. He got the conference report 34 minutes before he was supposed to vote on it. And, you know, we're not having a huge debate now because we've been able to talk over the last several days on what's actually in the conference report. And I believe that we actually are getting better conference reports because everyone knows it's actually going to be looked at before we vote. And I just want to thank the senator from James City and the senator from Augusta that we're not in the good old days anymore and the opportunity to look at this before we vote. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. The senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Conference Committee report on House Bill 1525.
The senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd request that we adopt the committee conference report, and I would yield to the senator from Eastern Fairfax County for an explanation.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Eastern Fairfax County, Senator Surville.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the conference report on House Bill 1525 you have in front of you relates to it's Delegate Albo's legislation on administrative suspensions from out-of-state DUI convictions. The version that the conference adopted is essentially the version that passed out of the Senate on a floor substitute that I put through. There are 3 changes to it you need to be aware of. Number 1, it allows the Department of Motor Vehicles to look at a final conviction order from out of state, not just the conviction abstract, but they can actually look at the order. But they're not allowed to look at anything else in the file, which was a big problem. The DMV was sort of rooting around in files from other states and assuming facts have been proven when they hadn't been proven. So they're allowed to look at the order. Number 2, if anybody would like to get review of their administrative conviction, they have to submit it on a form provided by the DMV. And number 3, along with that form, they have to provide a copy of the statute they were convicted under and the court order from the other jurisdiction. And that the DMV requested that it would help them move things along when they get these. And with that, again, renew my motion, or the other senator's motion, the senator from Spotsylvania's motion, that we adopt the conference report.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
On page 3, Conference Committee report on House Bill 1692.
The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenchain.
Mr. President, I would I would move the adoption of the conference report with a recommendation that it be rejected. This morning I had some communication with the House patron about this bill, and it turns out that some who had asked for this bill are no longer enamored with it. The family law section of the Virginia Bar has decided that this may actually not help the situation that it was intended to address, which is situations where there's joint jurisdiction between juvenile and domestic relations court and circuit court, and that may cause more confusion in its present form than it resolves. So with that, and I know that there was a lot of work that was put into this and a lot of voices were heard, but I think that the patron is resolved to come back next year and try one more time, so I would ask that it be rejected.
Thank you, Senator. With the senator from Fairfax County, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I'd ask the senator from Rockingham, are you saying we passed a bill here that would cause confusion?
The senator from Rockingham.
Perish the thought.
Thank you, Senators. With the recommendation...
Gentleman, yield for a question.
The senator from Fairfax City, would the senator from Rockingham yield? He yields, Senator.
And I apologize for not asking him offline, but it's the first I was one of the conferees. Is Virginia Poverty Law Center okay with letting this bill go by for the year?
The senator from Rockingham.
I can't answer that, but I can find out. I do know that they were one of the stakeholders. There was a lot of last-minute work that went into this.
Can this bill go by temporarily?
Without objection, House Bill 1692 will go by temporarily.
Conference Committee report on House Bill 1941.
The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenchain.
Mr. President, I would respectfully yield to the senior senator from the city of Richmond.
Thank you, Senator. The senior senator.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the conference committee report. And speaking to that motion,
the senator has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, this is the bill that passed the Senate 38-2. It is the bill to protect free speech on matters of public concern against strategic lawsuits against public participation. This is the House companion of that Senate bill. It went into committee to work on some concerns that had been raised over what constitutes a matter of public concern, and I think we made some thoughtful revisions to the bill to address those concerns. We had originally defined matters of public concern as an issue reasonably likely to encourage consideration or review by a governing body, and there were some questions on what that meant. And I would tell the body that our courts have a body of case law surrounding what constitutes a matter of public concern under the First Amendment, and so we have, I think, more simply and thoughtfully revised this bill such that matters of public concern on issues protected by the First Amendment will now be what is protected by this bill. And I would renew my motion that we adopt the conference committee report.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Eastern Fairfax County, Senator Surville.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the gentleman yield for a quick question?
Would the senior senator yield for a question?
I yield.
He yields, Senator.
I'm reading the amendment or the changes that were made, and I see that now it says that you can't sue somebody for something that's protected by the First Amendment. Given that everything we do is protected by that none of our laws can abrogate the First Amendment, I'm not clear why we're writing in our code that that the Constitution applies to us.
The senior senator.
I would respond to the gentleman that this bill, as drafted, protects Virginia citizens when they are sued on a count of defamation. And when the statements of alleged defamation are based on matters of public concern under the First Amendment to the United States Constitution, that is the only limited area in which they would be able to take advantage of this immunity. And I would further respond to the gentleman that this would only be raised in a situation where a plea in bar would be filed, a hearing would be held before a judge, and that determination obviously would be left up to the good discretion of that judge.
Will the gentleman yield for additional questions?
Would the senator yield for an additional question?
I yield.
He yields, Senator.
Times versus Sullivan, wouldn't somebody sued already have a defense they could raise under the First Amendment to being sued for this?
The senior senator.
Mr. President.
Mr. President, I'd yield to the senator from Fairfax City.
The senator from Fairfax City.
I would say my law partner is exactly correct, but the bottom of the statute makes it available for them to get attorney's fees if they prevail. New York Times versus Sullivan does not automatically entitle you to attorney's fees if you prevail. That's what the statute's all about.
The senator from Eastern Fairfax County.
I'm not sure if that answers my question, but if it means lawyers can make more money, I might have to rethink my position. So,
thank you, Senator. The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, speaking of the bill to the conference report, I'm trying to put the senator from Southern Fairfax's concerns further to rest. The First Amendment does not protect individuals from suits by other individuals. It protects speech and the suppression of speech, but if there is, say, a government official who feels that he or she has somehow been maligned or defamed in talking about their role in a matter of public concern, there's nothing that prevents that individual in their individual capacity from filing a defamation action against the speaker. This provides a limited immunity, but only as to matters of public concern. So it does address something that is not covered by the protections that are afforded by the Constitution. However, it's very narrowly drawn so that it only protects statements that would be classified by the courts as matters of public concern protected by the First Amendment of the Constitution, which the jurisprudence surrounding that is very well developed and very narrowly constrained. It does not protect against defamation. The First Amendment does not immunize or protect against defamation. The First Amendment clearly tries to achieve that balance between protecting constitutionally protected speech, but also allowing individuals who've been damaged by defamatory statements to protect themselves. So a lot of work has gone into this to make sure that that balance is preserved and that we don't somehow fundamentally alter the law of defamation in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I thank the senior senator from the city of Richmond for his willingness to allow us to take hammer and tong to his bill as it originally came through the General Assembly. And I think that the gentleman's concerns are largely addressed, maybe not entirely.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report on House Bill 1941? All in favor of the motion will record their votes. Aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? If any senators desire to change their votes, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Page 4, Conference Committee Report on House Bill 2248.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass. Speak to that.
Senator
Conference Committee report. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. This is the capital outlay plan. What was accomplished in conference was the projects were reviewed. There were a couple projects that we had included in our plan. The House hadn't, and vice versa. So we came to a meeting of the minds as far as what currently exists as on this list as priority projects for planning over the next 6 years. It's not an all-inclusive plan, but it's a plan that we've come to adopt to give us a guideline for ones that will move then to detailed planning over that period of time. There's one project in here that I think is extremely critical, and that's a new central state. I'll just highlight that. I hope we will be able to provide appropriate funding to move that project forward in the not-too-distant future. So I would move that we accept the conference committee report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes. Aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? If any senators desire to change their votes, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
House Bill 2304, Conference Report.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Lots of work in progress here. The I move that we adopt the conference committee report. And speaking to that,
Senator has the
Mr.
floor.
President, members of the Senate, House Bill 2304 was a negotiated settlement on the that was the genesis of this was the JLARC report on long-term care for Medicaid, and the bill, in its current posture with the conference committee reports, reflects the language that's been included previously in the budget that we just adopted. There were some changes in here that I would like to have seen made as far as the rate setting in the contracts that are being offered, but we'll be able to address these things down the road, so I hope you'll accept the conference committee report.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
On page 5, Conference Committee Report on House Bill 2383.
The senator from Stafford, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd move we adopt the conference committee report. And speaking to that,
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this is the House companion bill to the bill that the senator from Fairfax and myself put in regarding the sewer difficulties in Alexandria. And what the conference committee report does is it remains true to the position of the Senate in the Senate. And more importantly, it holds true to the agreement that we made with the gentleman from Alexandria in representing his constituents and the time frames in that. It does put in some reporting requirements for their progress, but ultimately it moves that date back to the date that we agreed to with the gentleman from Alexandria in the bill that left the Senate. So with that, I'd move we accept the conference committee report.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Southern Fairfax County, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, speaking to the measure here.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I have some concerns about this particular conference committee report. I think that there's a lot of good things that have happened throughout this process, and I can tell you that the dialogue and the sentiments within the city of Alexandria, both city government and the residents of Alexandria, have changed throughout this entire process. The city, I think, is very committed to moving forward as quickly as possible. I think the one concern that people have within Alexandria is whether it's the 2025 date is something that is really practical, and if it is turns out not to be practical, what the implications of that would be for obtaining financing for the project, and how you go forward on that. The city manager has already proposed to the city council a 500% increase in sewer rates to be able to fund this project. So there's aggressive action already being taken to move forward on this, and I think the problem will be resolved as quickly as is feasible to get it done. But I'm not sure it can be done that quickly, and therefore I do have some concern and would hope that we would reject this to be able to have the conference, again, another conference committee be able to come back with a timeline that is feasible, or that at least does provide some opportunity for extending the time period if it proves to be infeasible.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I respectfully rise and encourage the body to support the conference committee report on 2383.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 32, noes 7, Rule 36-1.
Ayes 32, noes 7, Rule 36-1. The motion is agreed to.
On page 6, Senate Bill 854, Conference Committee Report.
The senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning, sir.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the conference committee report. And speaking to that motion,
the senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, Senate Bill 854 was a bill that I drafted that would right now extend the period of time from when we sent unpaid court fines, costs, and fees to collection. In the code right now, it had it for after 30 days. The localities would send it on either to a collection agency or to a lawyer, which would usually result, when those fees were collected, in a reduction of 17 to 35% back to the locality or to the state in those collection of those court fines and costs. this bill now has been combined by the conference committee to include not just that now from 30 days to 90 days, because most of the fines and court fees are collected between 45 and 60 days, but it also includes the Delegate Lupasi bill, which allowed for deferred payment agreements where those people that owed those court fines and costs and fees could enter into a deferred payment agreement with the locality that would keep them from having their license suspended. So I think having those two things together is a win-win. It's going to be good for those people that may be at lower income levels and need time to pay off their fees. And it's also going to save the Commonwealth of Virginia money, because ultimately, instead of sending them to collection, we're going to be able to collect those fees and not have to pay those percentages to a collection agency or to a law firm to collect those fees. So for those reasons, I renew my motion that we adopt the conference committee report for my bill, Senate Bill 854, sir.
Thank you, Senator. The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DiStefano.
Mr. President, a question on the relevancy of this bill. Does this mean, I'm sorry, a point of parliamentary procedure on this. Does this mean if we pass this that the good senator from Franklin will actually get a bill passed this year?
It looks that way, Senator. Thank you. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The motion is agreed to.
Senate Bill 898, Conference Committee report.
Senator from Stafford, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the companion bill to the House bill regarding Alexandria City issue. I again would ask we adopt the conference committee report. And just very briefly, Mr. President, I would remind my good friend from Fairfax, whom I have so much respect for, we need to be aggressive on this, because even under this plan, that the agreement that we came up with the gentleman from Alexandria, there's 1 billion gallons of raw sewage that's going to go into the Potomac River, even under this plan. So I hope you all will all support this measure.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? If any senators desire to change their votes, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 32, noes 7, Rule 36-1.
Ayes 32, no 7, Rule 36-1. The motion is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1045, Conference Committee report.
The senator from Augusta County, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we adopt the conference committee report. And speaking to that, this is identical to the House bill on capital outlay plan that we just passed. Thank you.
Senator, the question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? If any senators desire to change their votes, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The motion is agreed to.
We are still uploading the Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 1063. On page 8, Conference Committee report on 1312.
The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd ask that the body accept the conference committee report on Senate Bill 1312. This is the Senate version of the ethics reform bill. We have passed out the House bill, and as I previously stated, there were 2 minor changes in it, one dealing with gifts and the other with the constitutional officers continuing to file with local authorities.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 1.
Ayes 38, noes 1. The motion is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1413, Conference Committee report.
The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenchain. The senior senator from Richmond City, Senator Sturdivant.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the conference committee report. This Senate Bill 1413 is the companion of the House bill that we just accepted 40-0 on the against the lawsuits to suppress public participation. I ask that we adopt this conference committee report.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
On page 9, Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 1574.
The senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Hanger.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the senator from Mecklenburg is addressing the House copy of this bill, but this bill is the Conference Committee report on the Virginia Economic Development Partnership. It embraces some of the JLARC recommendations, and hope it will be the pleasure. I move that we accept the Conference Committee report.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the Conference Committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. Senator Peterson, are you prepared to go back to the page 3? The Senate will stand at ease. The Senate will come to order. I understand we have a confession that needs to be made. I'd like to call on the senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
This is not a confession, Mr. President. I rise to speak, Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
No. Mr. President, will the President yield for a question?
Absolutely.
Is this your last session, correct?
It is, Senator.
And is the gavel the means by which you control this chamber?
One of the ways, yes, sir.
One of the ways. I just want to thank Mr. President for your generous display of impartiality by picking me to be your replacement. And if I have two gavels to your one gavel, does that mean that you have picked me? And I appreciate it, and thank you very much. And I do accept your offer of the presidency.
Thank you, Senator.
Is Mr. Stanley behind this? Would the gentleman from Franklin County yield for a question?
He yields, Senator.
Oh, I do?
Yes, you do.
Okay. What he said, I yield.
Make it brief. Did the senator from Franklin County place these gavels at my desk?
Take the fifth.
Mr. President, I would answer the gentleman by saying, unless he saw me do it, the chances are good that he didn't see me do it. And if he didn't see me do it, that doesn't mean I did it. So therefore, he can't say that I did it, nor even ask me if I did it, because he didn't see me do it. So, Mr. President, I would close by saying I believe that the new senator from Lynchburg, clearly possession is 9/10 of the law, is in possession of some contraband that I do believe belongs to you, sir.
Thank you, Senator.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Senators.
Mr. President, I must say that had you not given us these nice thank you letters that I promptly opened up to put in my desk, I would never have known that you had picked me to succeed you as president of this body. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The clerk will please call the calendar.
That's great.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Page 2. Conference report on House Bill 1549.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, I move that we accept the conference committee report on House Bill 1549. I'd like to speak to that.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. I know we want to move expeditiously here, but I'll take just a moment on this particular bill because this is a companion bill to Senate Bill 1005. And I want to thank the senator from Bath and the senator from Southern Fairfax for working with me yesterday evening on the other end of the Capitol in coming to agreement on these particular measures. This House bill and the Senate bill that will be coming up shortly are a part of the recommendations of the Mental Health Commission. And this is an important one, and it lays out, the document itself lays out a direction for us, if you will, for mental health. The committee report, in addition to picking up emergency services and same-day mental health screening services, will pick up outpatient primary care screening and monitoring services for physical health indicators and health risk follow-up so we can help people who are in need of primary care or health services. And this will go into effect, and this was a concession where we moved that effective date from 2018 to 2019, July 1 of 2019. But the trade-off there was we're removing some of the money that was to fund this earlier implementation to expanding our GAP program from 80% to 100%. So that's a good thing. And then in the enactment clauses, and this was a part of the agreement last night, the rest of the plan, which we will be working on to implement over the next couple of years, will be effective 2021, which will require, Mr. President, additional funding. But we're well aware of that, and we need to retain that commitment to fixing our mental health system. So with that, Mr. President, I would move that we accept the conference committee report.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
House Bill 1692, conference report.
The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenchain. The senator from James City County.
I'd ask that we temporarily pass by House Bill 1892.
Thank you, Senator.
House Bill 1837, conference committee report.
The senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can that bill go by for the day, please?
Thank you, Senator. Without objection, House Bill 1837 will go by for the day.
Mr. President.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I would ask the gentlelady to yield on House Bill 1837.
Would the senator yield for a question? She yields, Senator.
Would you agree to pass that by temporarily till you and I have an opportunity to talk briefly? Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Without objection, the bill will go by temporarily.
Page 4, House Bill 22. Whoops, sorry, we've done that one. House Bill 2366 on page 5.
The senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the conference report be accepted. Speaking to that motion, this is the one that deals with procurement. This difference was between $10 and $25 million. We agreed to drop all that language and in exchange put in a reporting system that they have 5 days to tell general services that they want to use an alternative process such as construction management design build. The department will make the decision, and if they decide to go against that decision, they'll have to be a written report that will be reported back to the General Assembly.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
House Bill 2471, conference committee report.
Madam Clerk, what page are you on?
Page 5.
Thank you. The senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the bill that I move that the conference committee report be agreed to. Speaking to that motion, this is a bill that deals with the VEDP, and we came to terms, and Senator Hanger previously described it.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
On page 6, conference committee report on Senate Bill 1005.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we accept the conference committee report. This is the companion Senate bill to the House bill previously described. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
On page 7, conference committee report on Senate Bill 1063.
The senator from Bath County, Senator Deeds.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the report. This bill deals with inspection of jail deaths in local correctional facilities. As it died in the House of Delegates, the House version died. The Senate version was stripped down simply to redefine the Board of Corrections membership, but it included $100,000 funding. The House, the bill that passed, or the bill that's incorporated in this conference report, is closer to the Senate position in that the The investigation will be done by the Board of Corrections or the Department of Corrections, and the Inspector General will only have a jurisdiction in facilities that aren't correctional. So I think the parties that were concerned about this bill have been relieved.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Any senators desire to change their votes, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Conference committee report on Senate Bill 1129 on page 7.
The senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the conference report be agreed to.
The senator has the floor.
Speaking to that, this is the companion bill for the one we just passed about procurement.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Conference committee report on Senate Bill 1239 on page 8.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we accept the conference committee report and I'd like to speak to that, Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate. This bill is one of those, as we wind down here, you win some and you lose some. And this one, as we were in conference last night and early this morning, would be one that I felt like we lost a little bit of ground. But as I've reflected on it, I believe it will provide us an opportunity to move forward in a positive way. And yet, I need to explain some of the things that happen within it. As you may be aware, the senator from Loudoun, the senior Jennifer, had a bill that will essentially require us to have fingerprint background checks in conformity with federal law July 1, 2018 of this year. The Senate Bill 1239 is a bill that resulted from a study of those child care facilities, child care day programs that are exempt from licensure. So the bill sets up a mechanism whereby we will preserve these exemptions from licensure, but it also sets up a process where we ensure that there are appropriate health and safety standards in place. In dealing with the House, they basically adopted a firm position that they wanted to protect religious daycare programs from having to implement fingerprint background checks July 1st of 2018. So effectively, the substitute or the conference committee report pulls religious exempts out into a separate non-regulated category that would fit in the same category as these other license exempts that we're setting up a process. This is something that may evolve into the reconvened session as we look at this because it's a significant change, but it will still provide oversight, and it charges in an enactment clause Department of Social Services for looking at all of these programs, including religious daycare programs that will projected to be exempt, whether or not they should be moved into a more regulated area. With that, Mr. President, I would hope that we would, even though this particular conference committee report has a couple of items in it that I would choose not to have placed there, I would ask you to accept it.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. Returning to page 3 of the calendar, House Bill 1692, the senator from Rockingham.
Mr. President, I'd ask that go by for the day.
Without objection, House Bill 1692 will go by for the day. House Bill 1837, the senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can that bill go by for the day, please?
The senator from Augusta, Senator
Mr.
Hanger.
President, If we are going to have just a short break, I would like to talk to the gentlelady from Chesterfield before we entertain that motion.
Thank you, Senator. The Senate will stand at ease. The Senate will come to order. The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. On page 3, House Bill 1837, I move we accept the conference committee report and speak to that.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, this bill has worked in conference, modifies the license exemption requirements for private preschool programs, and I believe it has broad support, and it's one of those bills that we may want to look at between now and reconvene to see if it still needs to be tweaked a little bit. But I would hope the Senate would go ahead and adopt the conference committee report.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase. Oh, I'm sorry, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I'd ask we stand at ease.
Thank you, Senator. The Senate will stand at ease. The Senate will come to order. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Inquiry of the clerk. Does that complete today's calendar?
We have one more matter. Just kidding. It does.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? The Senator from Northern Chesapeake, Senator Spruill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Point of personal privilege.
The Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, and to all who are here, I have what you call a kind of confession. Coming over here to this side of the aisle, I said, what in the world am I getting myself into? And they were saying to me exactly, Spruill, you're going down to the House of Lords, it's boring, you won't have no good time. And they were saying the clerk is different and what have you. So let me start with the clerk first. I love you. Because I can recall maybe about 10, 12 years ago when I said to the clerk, I said, baby doll, you can't make it in the house on the outside of the aisle. But she has been the most kind to me and her staff. Whatever I need, even when I'm wrong, they have been so kind to me. And I have said to her that I'm going to get on the floor and I want to make a motion to give her a raise. And she said, you can't do that over here. I said, well, who do I talk to? And she says, Brother Norman and Brother Maduga. Get a lady a raise. Don't be so tight. Give her a raise. But I love her because she has really taken care of me. And your staff has been outstanding. And I thank you for that. And then coming over here, and I read all the time, I say, how am I going to like it over here? Because in the house, you have a lot of fun and crazy. And now I'm old, and you can't be crazy over here all the time. So I read all the time, Madam Clerk, and I was looking at Psalm 137, when it says, by the river of Babylon, they sat down, they weep when they remember Zion. And I started remembering the House of Commons down in the hall. And then I'm over here and I'm saying, well, how can I sing the Lord's song over here? And whenever I get lonely, I said, Lord, you got to send me somebody to make me have some fun over here. And the Lord sent us a Savior, Senator Stanley. Because, so whenever I get lonely, I say to myself, somebody got to do something, and he pops it up. And I said, thank God. And I'm just as happy over here. I even like Senator Snowman and Dick Saslow. I didn't think I would like those two. And then I was said, well, what do you think? And you had to learn a whole lot. And so the first time, Madam Clerk, I did something wrong, and I was carried to the window. And I said, about two of the, so what are these black folks doing? Senator Lucas and Senator Locke, they carried me to the window. So when they carried you to the window, you done did something wrong. So they only carried me to the window one time. And I thank them because they have been so helpful. And Madam Clerk, the people from Northern Virginia, there are some different folks in the House. And, I always talk about them all the time. But people from Northern Virginia over here, they're nice folks. Even the Republicans are nice to me. I said, Lord Jesus, what have I got myself into? I'm in heaven. So I'm here to say my first year over here, I have enjoyed it. Even when I got a bill that is wrong, the other side have explained to me and put me down wrong. Nice way. So I am so glad to be here. And I just want to thank even the Lieutenant Governor. Picks on me all the time before I got over here. I'm going to say, you are right. I should have came up here a long time ago. So, in conclusion, I want to say to all of you, my first year was great. I have learned a whole lot, and still, one thing I don't like about now, y'all got to be cool on this junior stuff. I ain't no junior, I can't do that. But I still say it to me that when you want to know something, I have had a beer, and whenever I don't understand something, I go to either side of the aisle, and they help me out, either side. And somebody said, this is great. So I just want to thank you. I want to thank Senator Norman and Dick Sassaw and all of you for your help and your kindness. I think now I can die and go to heaven. God bless you.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
3 points. I understand why the senator from Chesapeake thinks that it's been a great year because he had more bills passed this session than his accumulative successes in the House after all those years. So that is certainly positive. Negative observations, Mr. President, do not encourage the senator from Franklin anymore. The third point that I would like to make, I would like for everyone to look up at the voting board, and I want you to note what time it is. And other than when we have gotten out a day early, I challenge you to recall when we have completed our business in such a timely manner, and I want to thank each and every one of you for your cooperation and the legislative expediency we've demonstrated this year.
Thank you, Senator. The clerk will please report any announcements on the desk.
There's one thing I need to correct before I do the announcements. This morning when I came in, I already had an email from a Page parent, and I thought, uh-oh. But she said, I would first like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the experience that was offered my son over the past 7 weeks. As you predicted at orientation, he has definitely come home a different child. He is no longer self-centered and at times an immature teenage boy. He is evolving into a wonderful young man with high moral standards and a very strong work ethic. I sincerely believe that this is mostly due to the Virginia Senate Page Leadership Program. And one of the things that I skipped over because it was kind of piecemeal yesterday was a huge thank you to the person who has taken a great program and made it an excellent program, and that's Bladen Finch. He followed those mental health bills closely. Announcements. Please remove all food items from your desk, especially cookies, before you leave. Any items you want to be recycled, please leave on the top of your desk. The weather report as you leave so early today. The vast majority of the Commonwealth is at risk for severe storms because you got out early. Today, the storms will strengthen to severe levels by mid-afternoon as they move into the Piedmont. The severe threat will continue through this evening as storms continue eastward through the coastal plains. These storms will be capable of producing damaging wind gusts to 60 miles per hour and hail around 1 1/4 inch. This line of storms is expected to move out of the state by late this afternoon. Safe travels to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. The senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn, sine die.
The question is, shall the Senate adjourn, sine die? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate stands adjourned, sine die.